Unless you've been living under a rock, it's pretty hard to miss all of the hype that's been surrounding the new anime that aired earlier this month called Jujutsu Kaisen. I got into the series before the anime aired through reading the manga, so let me explain to you what Jujutsu Kaisen is by covering the story that's told, the setting that the story takes place in, the complicated curse energy power system that is used in the series, as well as covering all of the characters that you need to know about before you watch or read Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen follows our protagonist Yuji Itadori, who is a student who is incredibly gifted when it comes to his physical abilities. Because of this, he is sought after by all of the athletic clubs in his school, but instead of joining them, he would rather hang out with his friends in his after-school occult research club. We are introduced to the concept of a Jujutsu sorcerer through the introduction of Megumi Fushigoro. He arrives at Yuji's school in order to locate a cursed object, which originates from the most powerful cursed spirit in history called Ryumen Sukuna. So before continuing to explain the series, we need to understand what cursed energy is. In the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, cursed energy can be found within almost every human being. This energy is utilized by Jujutsu sorcerers like Megumi Fushiguro for various abilities. Cursed energy is created through negative emotions that flow through the body of every human being, because inherently every human being will experience negative emotions, so because of this, every human will output cursed energy in some form. So it is this energy that Jujutsu sorcerers utilize in order to battle. But what is the threat that is introduced to us in Jujutsu Kaisen? I mentioned Ryumen Sukuna earlier as the most powerful cursed spirit. So what exactly is a cursed spirit? Cursed spirits are created through a buildup of cursed energy. They are the main threats of the series and they exist to torment humanity. So when a human releases negative emotions like anger, jealousy and hatred, this results in cursed energy leaking from their bodies. This cursed energy eventually pools together and forms into a cursed spirit. Cursed spirits are understandably found in heavily populated areas, such as schools and hospitals. So a cursed spirit may be created in a school because multiple people have regrets and negative emotions associated with their school life, whether if it's through bullying or through feelings of regret that they might associate with school, feeling lonely and wondering if they asked their crush out and where they would be now, or not doing well in school and then ending up at a worse place later on in life. So that's cursed spirits who are born through negative emotions associated to different buildings or areas. Cursed spirits can also be created when several humans share the same negative emotion towards a certain thing. This causes cursed spirits to be born from that shared sentiment. Like a cursed spirit can be created through humanity's fear of death, or their fear of oceans, or people's hatred for one another. Because a cursed spirit is made up of cursed energy, they cannot be seen by normal people. However, under certain circumstances, like in a life or death situation, this may cause a regular human to be able to see a cursed spirit. We learn very early on in the series that a curse can only be harmed by another curse. So a cursed spirit can only be exorcised through using some form of cursed energy. So this is why Jujutsu sorcerers learn to channel their own cursed energy in order to defeat cursed spirits. They develop several techniques based on their cursed energy. So now going back to the story, Yuji's friends from his occult research group find the cursed object that Fushiguro is looking for. They naively unseal the cursed object and it attracts cursed spirits to their location. Yuji and Fushiguro find themselves fighting these cursed spirits. When they struggle to fend off the cursed spirits, Yuji ends up eating the cursed object, which ends up being Ryumen Sukuna's finger. This results in him possessing a great deal of cursed energy, and it also results in Ryumen Sukuna manifesting through his body. This then leads to the introduction of Fushigoro's teacher called Satoru Gojo. He ends up taking Yuji to the school where Fushiguro is studying to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. It is located in Tokyo and is called the Tokyo Metropolitan Curse Technical College. It is also called Jujutsu High, and Gojo is responsible for teaching the first years at Jujutsu High. He ends up revealing to Yuji that he is due to be executed, but his execution has been postponed because he is a valuable asset to the Jujutsu sorcerers, as he is a vessel that can contain Ryumen Sukuna's cursed energy. Yuji ate one of Sukuna's fingers, but there are 20 of them in total. They are incredibly powerful cursed objects and they get stronger with each passing day. There is no way to properly seal them. However, if Yuji was to eat all of the fingers and if he was to die, then the curse of Ryumen Sukuna would also die with him. So Yuji is left with two choices. He could either die now or he could longer die after he finds all of the remaining parts of Sukuna and takes them into his body and then be executed. Yuji makes his decision after he asks Gojo if there are a lot of casualties associated with curses like Sukuna's. He explains when an ordinary person runs into a cursed object or a cursed spirit, they should consider themselves lucky if they can die a normal death. Even if their body is found all torn apart, then it's still considered a best case scenario. Gojo warns Yuji that if he does take up his offer to locate all of Sukuna's 20 fingers, then it is inevitable that he's going to come across some gruesome murders and dead bodies. He even tells Yuji that he can't guarantee that he won't be a victim one day. Yuji begins to think about all of the casualties that he encountered through fighting the cursed spirits back in his school. He himself witnessed Fushigoro and his 2 friends from his occult research club all be casualties of cursed spirits. He makes his decision after asking Gojo if eliminating Sukuna will result in fewer people being killed by curses. Gojo then says yes, which leads to Yuji then eating another finger of Sukuna, demonstrating his willingness to cooperate by eliminating Sukuna, which will result in fewer people being killed by his curse. Gojo describes Yuji as unique, as not only is he able to resist Sukuna's power, he is able to control him also. This phenomenon where an individual is able to control such a powerful curse only occurs once every 1,000 years or so. Yuji indeed possesses a phenomenal ability. This then leads to Yuji enrolling in Jujutsu High with Satoru Gojo as his teacher, and this is basically the early portions of the Jujutsu Kaisen story explained. The story of Jujutsu Kaisen takes place in modern day Japan, and with the main setting of interest being Tokyo Jujutsu High, which is one of the main Jujutsu education facilities, and this is the central headquarters for all Jujutsu sorcerers. The purpose of Tokyo Jujutsu High is to train the next generation of Jujutsu sorcerers, so this location serves as a school as well as a central location for all of the Jujutsu community. Even after graduating, a lot of Jujutsu sorcerers use it as their base of operations. The students within the school are broken down into 3-year groups, and Yuji, our protagonist, is a first-year student, along with Fushigoro, who we are also introduced to early on in the series. After Yuji settles into Tokyo Jujutsu High, we are then introduced to the 3rd member of the first-year group. She is called Nobara Kugisaki. She is the final member of the trio who are taught by Satoru Gojo. One aspect of Jujutsu Kaisen which has a lot of people confused is the power system that is used in the series. So like I mentioned before, the enemies of the Jujutsu sorcerers are cursed spirits, and the only way to defeat them is through using cursed energy. Now, Jujutsu sorcerers utilize the cursed energy and control it and refine it into their own unique cursed techniques. Now, these are specific abilities that every Jujutsu sorcerer has, but they need to be met with certain conditions or requirements which are unique to the user. The fascinating thing about cursed techniques is that they can be derived from yourself or they can be derived from your bloodline, but this is something that you learn later on in the series. Early on in the series, Gojo explains to Yuji that cursed energy is highly volatile in its raw form. It can be described as chaotic and dangerous as electricity, but when electricity is channeled and refined, it can be placed into different devices or appliances to make it useful, and in a similar way, cursed energy can be refined and channeled through cursed techniques. There are a wide range of cursed techniques which differ depending on the Jujutsu sorcerer. A cursed technique could be used to create objects from cursed energy, or to infuse the cursed energy into cursed words or cursed dolls. Jujutsu sorcerers can also use cursed energy to manipulate objects which exist in their plane of reality, and in the case of Yuji, he uses his cursed energy to reinforce his punches, and he has also developed a specific cursed technique called Divergent Fist. This ability was discovered by Yuji when he realized that his cursed energy has a time lag. When he strikes his opponent first with a thin layer of cursed energy, it results in a second wave of cursed energy being unleashed a few moments after. This results in 2 impacts occurring from one punch. It's a really powerful technique which often catches his enemies off guard. And to illustrate how different cursed techniques can be from one Jujutsu sorcerer to another, let's look at one of the cursed techniques that Fushigoro uses. His technique is called 10 Shadows technique, which is an incredibly unique cursed technique which creates and manipulates Shikigami. Shikigami are animated objects or beings which are created from cursed energy. They are considered to be artificial cursed spirits of sorts, and they are controlled by the 10 Shadows technique. Fushigoro summons specific Shikigami by using corresponding hand signs. An example that Fushigoro summons often is called the Divine Dogs, which are 2 Shikigami dogs, one which is white and one which is black. Once summoned, they chase and devour curses, and he typically summons these Shikigami by bringing his hands together and making a sign which forms the shape of a dog's head. An ability which reminds me of the different bankais of the characters within Bleach is called Domain Expansion, and this is the highest level of utilizing cursed energy. Domain Expansion is something that I'd love to make a separate video on, as each character has their own different and unique domain expansion. And just like in Bleach, as we don't see everybody's Bankai straight away, we haven't really seen everybody's domain expansion just yet. So this is the basics of the Jujutsu Kaisen power system explained. It can get pretty complicated, as each character has different curse techniques and they have really long-winded names which are really hard to remember, but by taking the time to understand the different abilities of the characters and the techniques that they use, it ends up being really rewarding when they are used in battle in different and unique ways to fight off cursed spirits. So now I want to turn our attention over to the protagonist of the series. Let's try to understand what makes him stand out as a unique shonen protagonist. What exactly are his personality traits and what drives his character to make the decisions that he does in the series? The main character Yuji really appealed to me as a protagonist. He also reminded me a lot of Ichigo from Bleach. In particular, how on the surface level they are both teenagers who are living in the real world, but as well as this, on a deeper level, they both share some common personality traits. For both of these characters, their motives for action are derived from the death of a loved one. For Ichigo, it is of course the death of his mother, and for Yuji, it is the passing away of his grandfather. His grandfather's final request was for Yuji to go and help others. He advises him not to do this all of the time, but just whenever he can, and he shouldn't expect any gratitude in return, he should just help them. He advises him to do this so that when he is on his deathbed, he is at least going to be surrounded by people who love him, unlike his grandfather who has nobody but his grandson there beside him. His grandfather's final request is what drives Yuji into accepting Gojo's offer, which was to eliminate Sukuna's curse by devouring all 20 of his fingers so that fewer people are killed or hurt by it. As a character, Yuji has a lot of meaning and value for life, and because of this, he does not tolerate cruelty and the unjust killing of innocent people. He believes that every individual, no matter how bad they are, deserves to have a fair death. He also has a very self-sacrificing character. We see this trait very early on in the series when he protects Fushigoro and his two friends from the curses by swallowing Sukuna's finger. He doesn't know the consequences of this action or how it's going to affect his body, but he does whatever it takes in order to protect the people around him. A series with an incredible premise and a great protagonist can only get better once we introduce my favorite character in the series, called Satoru Gojo. From his very first appearance, he reminds me a lot of Kakashi from Naruto. As we spend more time with him, we see the similarity between the two characters. They are both incredibly powerful teachers, but the difference is Gojo is the most powerful Jujutsu sorcerer in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. He has multiple sides to his personality. When it comes to his students, he is cheerful and understanding with them, but he is unsympathetic and he is harsh with his superiors. Because of his reputation as a powerful sorcerer, he is very confident in his own abilities, and the handful of moments that I've seen him use his powers in the manga has only left me feeling reassured. He has no difficulty with brushing aside cursed spirits which the other Jujutsu sorcerers are having a lot of difficulty with. A lot of the elders and the superior Jujutsu sorcerers are threatened by Yuji's existence. They desire Yuji to be killed, but they don't see the inherent value in him being alive, as he is able to control and manipulate Sukuna's abilities. It is Gojo who emphasizes this fact. He leverages his reputation, which is backed up by his incredible power, to threaten the Jujutsu establishment by saying that he will tear down their old ways of doing things, and he will end up raising Jujutsu sorcerers who are rebellious just like him. He feels like the current establishment is holding back the progression of Jujutsu sorcerers, and this is a particular handicap, especially if cursed spirits are growing in power as well. Soon, if Jujutsu sorcerers continue to stagnate, then the cursed spirits will overtake them and supersede them in power. They need to utilize individuals like Yuji instead of being afraid of them. Not only is Gojo incredibly powerful, but he is rebellious, and this adds to the overall appeal of his character, and he is definitely one of the main reasons why I continue to read Jujutsu Kaisen up to its latest chapter. As of uploading this video, the manga has 8 story arcs which span over 125 chapters, and during this video I've tried not to spoil any of the events which occur after episode 2 of the anime. And if you want my opinion, the best way to get into Jujutsu Kaisen is by watching the anime first, and if the story strikes you as being interesting and you love some of the concepts that are introduced, then I highly recommend for you to read the manga. And if you have sat through this video to the end and you enjoyed Jujutsu Kaisen, then let me know by leaving a comment. If you want more videos covering this incredible new series, then let me know. There is a lot to cover when it comes to this series, in regards to the various different complex characters with different motives, as well as the themes that are introduced to the story that we are told. If there is demand for more Jujutsu Kaisen content, then most likely I'm going to be doing a Satoru Gojo character analysis, since he's my favorite character and I can't wait to talk about him more. So once again, let me know if you love Jujutsu Kaisen and want more videos covering the series. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, then please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. I have multiple tiers with rewards including access to an exclusive Discord server, video scripts, as well as being the first to know about unreleased upcoming videos. Thank you for your time, and whatever you choose to contribute I will appreciate, and it will mean a lot to me.